is called Our Town. It was written by Thornton Wilder, produced and directed by Tony Garner. In it you will see Samantha Canova, Sebastian Alvarez, Sophie Prince, Matthew Yearman, Olivia Divers, Anthony Elrod, and many others. The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees 37 minutes. The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there, behind our mountain. The morning star always gets wonderful bright, the minute before it has to go, doesn't it? Well, I'd better show you where our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Over there is the railway station, tracks go that way. Across the street is the Polish town, and some Canuck families. Over there is the Congregational Church, Presbyterians across the street. Methodist and Unitarian are over there, Baptist is down in the hallway by the river. Catholic Church is over beyond the tracks. Here's our town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. Brian once made a speech from these very steps. Along here's a row of stores, hitching posts and horse blocks in front of them. First automobiles going to come along in about 5 years belong to Baker Cartwright. Our richest citizen lives in the big white house up over on the hill. This here is the grocery store and Mr. Morgan's drugstore. Almost everybody in town manages to look at these two stores once a day. Public high school's over yonder, high school's still farther over. 8:45 mornings, noon times, and 3 o'clock afternoons, the whole town can hear yelling and screaming coming from those school yards. And this here is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs, and this is his back door. There's some scenery for those who think they have to have scenery. And this is Mrs. Gibbs' garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhocks, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock. In those days, our newspaper come about twice a week, the Grover's Corner Sentinel. And this is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Just like Mrs. Gibbs, only it's got a lot of sunflowers too. And right here is a big butternut tree. Nice town, you know what I mean? Nobody very remarkable ever come out of it as far as we know. Earliest tombstones up there on the cemetery on our mountain say 1670, 1680. There are Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbs and Hursts. Same names as are around here now. Well, as I said, it's about gone. Only lights on in town are coming from a cottage over on the tracks where a Polish mother's just had twins. And the Joe Crow house, where Joe Jr. is getting up early to deliver the paper. And in the depot, where Shorty Hawkins is getting ready to fly the 5:45 for Boston. There's Mrs. Gibbs coming downstairs to get breakfast. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, coming back from that babysit. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. New hospital named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died first. Long time ago, in fact, she went out to visit her daughter Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio, and died there. Pneumonia. But her body was brought back here. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now. And there's Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get breakfast too. And there's Joe Crow Jr. delivering Mr. Webb's food.
Where's that here?
Morning, Joe.
Anybody been sick, Joe?
No, I had twins over by Polish town.
You want your paper now?
Yes, I'll take it. Anything serious going on with the world since Wednesday?
Yes, sir. My school teacher, Miss Foster, is getting married to a fellow over in Polish town.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, not that it's any of my business, but I think if a person starts out as a teacher, she ought to stay one.
How's your knee, Joe?
Fine, Doc. As you said, it always tells me when it's going to rain.
What's it saying today? Going to rain?
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Me ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Crowther. Joe was awful bright. Graduated high school here, head of his class. So, he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there, too. It was all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time. Gonna be a great engineer, Joe was. But the war broke out, and he died in France. All that education for nothing.
Giddy up, Bessie. What's the matter with you today?
And here comes Howie Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
Pair of twins over by Polish Town.
Twins, eh? Time's getting bigger every year.
Going to rain, Howie?
Oh, no. Fine day. That'll burn through. Come on, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Howie?
Going on 17. You know, Bessie here's all mixed up about the route ever since the Lockhart stopped ordering a quart of milk every day. She wants to leave him a quart just the same. Both need the whole trip. Good morning, Callie. Morning, little kid. Doctor's coming up the street. Seems like you're late today. Yep, something went wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was. Doc?
Howie.
Children, time to get up!
Come on, Bessie.
George! Rebecca! Everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare, easy as things.
Now you sit down and drink your coffee. Bacon will be ready in a minute. You can catch a couple hours sleep this morning, can't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming at 11. I guess I know what it's about, too. Their stomach ain't more to be.
All told, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep. Frank Gibbs, I don't know what'll become of you. I do wish I could get you to go somewhere and get a real rest. I think it would do you good.
Emily, time to get up! Wally, 7 o'clock!
I declare, you've got to speak to George. Seems like something's come over him lately. Can't even get him to chop me some wood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he ever thinks about is that baseball.
George! Rebecca, you'll be late for school! George!
George? Look sharp.
Yes, Pa.
Don't you hear your mother calling you? I guess I'll go upstairs and catch what it means.
Wally, Emily, you'll be late for school! Wally, you watch yourself good or I'll come there and do it myself!
Mom, what dress shall I wear?
Don't make a noise. Your father's been out all night and he needs his rest. No, I've washed and ironed that nice pink dress dress for you special.
Mom, I hate that dress.
Oh, hush up with you.
Every day I go to school, you're like a sick turkey.
Now, Rebecca, you always look very nice.
Ah, Mom, you're throwing soap at me.
I'll come slap the both of you, that's what I'll do.
Got a factory in our town, too. Here it makes blankets. The Cartwrights own it, and it brung them a fortune.
Now, children, I won't have it. Breakfast is as good as any other meal, and I won't have you gobbling down like wolves. It'll set your throat. That's a fact. No books at the table, Wally.
Oh, Ma, but by 10 o'clock I got to know all about Canada.
You know the rules as good as I do. No books at the table. As for me, I'd rather have my children healthy than bright.
I'm both, Mommy, you know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age and I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too, when I'm looking at my stamp collection.
Now, I'll speak to your father about it when he's rested. Seems to me 25 cents is just fine for a boy your age. I declare, I don't know how you spend it all.
Ma, I got a lot of things to buy.
Strawberry phosphates, that's what you spend it on.
Well, I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. It's more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual.
Now, dear, I think it's a good thing to spend some money every now and then.
Mama, do you know what I love most in the world? Do you? Money.
Eat your breakfast. On desk, you don't have to run.
No, you tell Miss Foster I said.
Molly, hold your hands and imaginations.
Can you remember that?
Stand up straight, Emily.
And you look very nice, Rebecca. Now pick up your feet. Here, chick, chick, chick. Now go away, you go away. Here, chick, chick, chick. Hey, what's the matter with you? Fight, 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 that's all you do. Here, chick, chick, chick. You don't belong to me. Where'd you come from? Oh, relax, no one's gonna hurt you. Here, chick, chick, chick. Good morning, Myrtle. How's it cold?
Well, I still got that old tickling feeling in my throat. Told Charles I didn't know if I'd go to choir practice tonight. Wouldn't be any use.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
Yes, but I can't manage to do that and stay on key. While I'm here, I thought I'd string some of these beans.
Let me help you. Beans have been good this year.
Signed up to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. The children say they hate them, but I've noticed they've been able to keep them down all winter.
Now, Myrtle, I've got to tell you something, because I don't tell anyone. Oh, first,
Why, Julia, you.
give me some of those beans. Myrtle, did one of those second-hand furniture men from Boston come to see you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. First, I thought he was a patient wanting to see Dr. Gibbs. He wormed his way into my parlor. He offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's highboy as I'm sitting here.
Why, Julia,
He
Gibbs.
did. That was the thing. First, it was so big I didn't know where to put it. Almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're gonna take it, aren't you?
I don't know.
You don't know. $350? What's come over you?
Well, if I could get the doctor to take me on a real trip, I'd sell it like that. You know, Myrtle, it's always been the dream of my life to see Paris, France. I don't know, it sounds crazy, I suppose, but for years I've been telling myself if I ever got the chance.
Well, how does the doctor feel about it?
You know him. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I met him. He beat around the bush a little bit when I told him. Said if I got a legacy, that's how I put it, that'd make him take me somewhere.
What did he say?
No, he says, it might make him discontent with Grover's Corners to go traipsing around Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every year, he takes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War, and that's enough trip for anyone, he says.
Well, Mr. Webb just admires the way Dr. Gibbs knows everything about the Civil War. Mr. Webb's a good mind to give up Napoleon and move over to the Civil War. Only Dr. Gibbs, being one of the greatest experts in the county, just makes him despair.
It's a fact. Doc Gibbs is never as happy as when he's at Antietam or Gettysburg. The times I've walked over those hills, Myrtle, stopping at every bush, pacing it all out, like we're gonna buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's really serious about buying, Julia, you sell it. And looking to see Paris, France, all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the Atlantic Ocean, you know.
Well, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in your life before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't talk in English and they don't even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now we're going to skip a few hours. But before we do it, we want a little more information about the town. Kind of a scientific account, you might say. So, I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to come sketch in a few details of our past histories. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, we haven't a lot of time.
Grover's Corners. Let's see. Grover's Corners was built on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. That is to say, it's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it, with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings, but that's all more recent, 200, 300 million years ago. Some interesting fossils have been found, I must say. Unique fossils, 2 miles out of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. They're available for viewing at the museum at our university at any time. That is, any reasonable time. Shall I read some of Professor Gruber's notes on the meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we don't have time for that, Professor. Perhaps a few brief notes on the history of man here?
Anthropological data, early Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes, no evidence of which before the 10th century of this era, now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families, migration towards the end of the 17th century of English blue-eyed brachiocephalic stock, since then some Slav and Mediterranean.
And the population, Mr. Willard.
Within the town limits, 2,640.
Just a moment. Professor?
Oh, is that so? The population, at the moment, is 2,642. The coastal district brings in 507 more, bringing us to a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates, constant. Climate persons gauge, 6.032.
Thank you, Professor. We're all very much obliged to you, I'm sure.
Not at all, sir, not at all.
This way, Professor, and thank you again. Now for the political and social report. Is Editor Webb here? Oh, Mr. Webb?
He'll be out in a minute. He was cut his hand while eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting!
Mr. Webb is publisher and editor of the Grover's Corner Sentinel. That's our local paper, you know.
Well, I don't have to tell you, we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males, but at the age of 21. Women, they vote indirect. We're all lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 85% Republican, 6% Democrat, 4% Socialist, rest indifferent. Now, religiously, we're 86% Protestant, 12% Catholic, rest indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Well, it's a very ordinary town if you ask me. A little better behaved than most. Probably a lot duller, but our young people here seem to like it well enough. You know, 90% of them graduating from high school settle down right here to live, even when they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask Editor Webb any questions about the town?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corner?
Well, ma'am, they ain't much. But, come to think of it, we got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. So, no, ma'am, there ain't much liquor in the home here. Except the medicine chest, right good for snake bite, you know. Always was.
Is there anyone in town aware
Come forward, will you? We can all hear you. What were you saying?
Is there anyone in town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes, everybody is. Something terrible. Seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't they do anything about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all looking for a way the sensible and diligent can rise to the top while the lazy and quarrelsome sink to the bottom. But, you know, it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those who can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Webb, is there any culture or love or beauty in Grover's Corner?
Well, ma'am, there isn't much. Not in the sense you mean. Well, come to think of it, there's some girls who play piano at the high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, they ain't much culture. But maybe here's a place to tell you, we got a lot of pleasures of a kind. We like the sun coming up over the mountain in the morning, and we notice a good deal about the birds. We all appreciate them. We watch the change in the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, you're right, they ain't much. Robinson Crusoe, Handel's Law Trouble, the Bible, We all know them. Liz's mother, that's just about as far as we go.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll get back to the town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinners and all the dishes have been washed. There's an early afternoon calm in our town. A buzzing and a humming coming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies on Main Street. The horses dozing at the hitching posts. You all know how it is. Edward Webb's over there cutting his lawn. Doc Gibbs is in his office, tapping people and making them say off. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower. No, sir, it's later than I thought. There are the children coming home from school now. Come on, can you stay for a little bit longer?
Oh, I can't, Louis. I gotta go home and help my mother. I promise.
Emily, walk simply. What do you think you are today?
Oh, Papa, you're terrible. One minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next minute you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I never got a kiss from such a great lady before.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forrest.
Go out and play in the fields, young man. You got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
I'm awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. I just thought. Oh, hello, Emily.
Hello.
You, made off our speech in class today.
Well, I was really ready to make a speech about the Monroe Doctrine. But at the last minute, Miss Cochran made me talk about the Louisiana Purchase instead. I worked an awful long time on both of them.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From a window over there, I can just see your head nice when you're doing homework over in your room.
Why, can you?
Certainly do see to it. I don't see how someone can sit still for that long. I guess you must really like school.
Well, I always feel it's something you have to go through.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
Yeah. Say, Emily, what do you think? Maybe we could set up a sort of a telegraph from your window to mine, and every once in a while you could give me a hint about one of those algebra problems. Not the answer, Emily. Of course I don't need the answer. Just slow hint.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you get stuck, George, you whistle to me, and I'll give you some hints.
Emily, you're just naturally bright, I guess.
I figure it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah. But you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says that whenever I'm ready, I can go over and start working on the farm. And if I'm any good at it, I can just gradually have the whole thing.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I should get back to the field. Thanks for the talk, Emily. Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come help me string these beans for winter. George Gibbs let him have this up-the-road conversation, didn't he? Why, growing up. How old would George be?
Well, I don't know.
Let's see, he must be at least 17.
Mama, I made a speech in class today, and I was very good.
You must recite it for your father at supper. What was it about?
The Louisiana Purchase? Oh, it was like silk off a spool. I'm gonna make speeches all my life. Mom, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Of course you are. All my children have got good features. Be ashamed if they haven't.
Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
I've already told you yes. Now enough of that. Got a nice, pretty young face. Never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, you never tell us the truth about anything.
I am telling the truth.
Mama, were you pretty?
Well, of course I was, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town next to Mamie Cartwright.
Well, Mama, you gotta say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now enough of that. You're perfectly pretty for all normal purposes. Come along and bring that bowl with you.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. We'll have to interrupt again here. You see, there are a few more things we want to explore about this town. I think this is a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have just begun building a new bank in Grover's Quarters. Had to go to Vermont for the marbles, sorry to say, and they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. We're putting in a copy of the New York Times and a copy of Mr. Webb's Sentinel. We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellas have found a way of painting all that reading matter with a kind of glue, a silicate glue, that'll maybe keep 1,000, 2,000 years. We're putting in a Bible and the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. What do you say, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had over 2 million people in it. And all we really know about them is the names of kings and the copies of wheat contracts and the copies for the sale of slaves. Yet, every night, all the family sat down for supper, and the father came home from his work, and the smoke went up the chimney, same as here. And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real lives of people is what we can piece together out of the joking poems and comedies they wrote for the theater back then. So, I've asked for a copy of this play to be put in the cornerstone. So people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us, more than the Treaty of Versailles or the Lindbergh fight. See what I mean? So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were in our growing up, and in our marrying, and in our living, and in our dying. Well, a good deal of time's gone by. We can hear choir practice going on in the Congregational Church. The children are at home doing their schoolwork. The day is running down like a tired clock.
Stop. 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 Now look here, everyone. Music came into the world to bring pleasure. So sing softer, sing softer. Get it out of all of your heads that music's only good when it's loud. You need loudness to the Methodists, and you couldn't be, even if you wanted to. Now again, everyone. 1, 2, 3, and.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the third problem?
Which?
The third?
Why, yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it, Emily. Could, you get it?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
Wait, the answer's in yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh, square yards.
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Square yards. Square yards of what? I see now. Thanks, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't the moonlight terrible? The choir practice going on. I think if you held your breath, you'd hear the train all the way to Conticook. Hear it?
What do you know?
Well, I guess I'd better get back and try to work.
Good night. And, thanks.
Good night, George.
Now, before I forget, how many of you are able to come in Tuesday afternoon, and sing at Fred Percy's wedding? Show of hands, show of hands. Be fine, be fine. We'll do the same set that we did with Jane Trowbridge's last month. But for now, we'll do Art Thou Weary? Art Thou Languid? It is a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk. 1, 2, 3, and.
Art thou weary? Art thou languid? Art thou sore distressed? Come to me, said one, and come me, be at rest.
Oh, George, would you come down a minute?
Yes, Pa.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I want you for a minute. George, how old are you?
I'm 16. Oh, 17.
And what do you want to do when school's over?
You know, I want to go be a farmer on Uncle Lou's farm.
You'll be willing, Luke, to get up early and milk and feed the stock, and you'll be able to hoe and hay all day.
Sure I will, Pa. What do you say?
Well, George, while I was in my office today, I heard a funny sound. And what do you think it was? It was your mother, chopping wood. There you see your mother, getting up early, cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and still she has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking. She just gave up and decided it was easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals, put on the clothes she keeps nice for you, and you run off and play baseball like she's some hired girl we keep around the house, but that we don't like very much. Well, I knew all I had to do was call your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for chopping wood for your mother, because that's a present you give her, but because you're getting older, I imagine there are lots of things you must find to do with it.
Thanks, Pa.
Let's see. Tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Probably Rebecca will give she ought to add some more too. What could have happened to your mother? Choir practice was never as late as this before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
I don't know why she's in all the choir. She hasn't got any more voice than an old crow. Traipsing around the streets at this hour of the night. Just about time you retired.
Yes, Pa.
I'll tell Mr. Webb. I just know I'm gonna put it in the paper.
Yes.
Mine is late.
Oh, good night, Irma.
Real nice choir practice, wasn't it? Oh, Myrtle Webb, look at the moon. Potato weather for sure.
Naturally, I didn't want to say a word about it while we were around all those others, but now that we're alone, really, that's the worst scandal that ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Simpson.
Now, Luella.
Julia, to have the organist of the church drink and drunk year after year. You know he's been drunk tonight.
Now, Luella. We all know about Mr. Simpson and the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him there on his job, the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
But not to notice it, but it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. Having this choir twice as long as you have, and this sort of thing doesn't happen anywhere near so often. I hate to go on a night like this. I better hurry. Those children will be up till all hours. Good night, Luella.
Good night, Myrtle.
Can you get home safe, Luella?
Why, it's bright as day. I could see Mr. Soames scowling at the window now. You think he's into a dance the way men folk carry on. Good night, Julia.
Well, we had a real nice time.
You're late enough,
Oh, Frank, today you're later than usual.
and you stopping at the corner to gossip with the law dance.
Oh, don't be so grouchy. Come out and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. Now look at that. Isn't it wonderful? What'd you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Well, believe me, Frank, there was something to gossip about.
Simon Stinson, far gone, was he?
Worse than I've ever seen him. How'd that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Stimpson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people ain't made for a small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but there's nothing we can do but just leave it alone. Really.
Not yet. Frank, I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
I think it's my duty to make plans to see to it that you get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist on it.
Oh, Julia, there's no sense in going over that again.
Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Come on, Julia. It's getting late. First thing you know, you'll catch cold. Dude, George, a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you're out the wood shop for a while anyway. No, stuck in upstairs.
Oh, dear, there's just so many things to pick up, it seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild locks her door every night. All those people in that part of town do.
They're getting cityfied. That's the trouble with them. They haven't got nothing fit for it when everybody knows it.
Get out of here, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window.
Well, let me look just a minute.
Use your own window.
I tried, but there's no moon there. George, do you know what I think? Do you? I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and soon there will be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting near, then the guys who stay up all night with their telescopes, they'd see it first. And they'd tell about it, and it would be in all the newspapers.
George, is Moon shining on South America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Huh? Oh. Probably is.
9:30. Most of the lights are off in town. No, there's Constable Warren trying a few more doors on Main Street. And there's Editor Webb after putting his newspaper in bed.
Good morning, Bill.
Morning, Mr. Webb.
Quite a mood.
Yep.
Feeling quiet tonight?
Simon Stipton was rolling around in the bed. Just on his wife out on the move in Huntsburg, I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town seems to settle down for the night pretty well. Good evening. Town seems to settle down for the night, Simon. I think we better do the setting. Can I walk along the ways with you? Good night.
So now, that's going to end Mr. Webb.
Well, you've seen enough trouble. You know, one thing after another. Oh, Bill, if you see my boy smoking any cigarettes, just give him a word, will you? He needs a lot of you, though.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. Leastways, I wore into it 3 a year.
Hope not. Good night, Bill.
Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is it you, Myrtle?
No, Papa, it's me.
Why aren't you in bed yet?
I don't know. I just can't sleep yet. Moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Miss heliotrope. Do you smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles on your mind, have you, Emily?
Troubles, Papa, no.
Well, enjoy yourself. But don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about that letter Jane Copa got from her minister when she was sick. Jane Copa got a letter, and on the envelope, it said this. Listen, it said, Jane Copa, Copa Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
Yeah, what's so funny about
But
that?
listen, it's not finished. The United States of America, continent of North America, the Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. That's what it said on the envelope.
What do you know?
Yep, and the postman brought it just the same.
What do you know?
That's the end of the first act, friends. You can go smoke now, those that smoke. 3 years are gone by. Yes, the sun's come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born before have begun talking regular sentences already. And a number of people who thought they were right young and spry have noticed they can't bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their hearts fluttering a little. Yes, all that can happen in 1,000 weeks. Nature's been pushing and contriving in other ways too. A number of young people fell in love and got married. Yes, the mountains got rid away a few fractions of an inch. Millions of gallons of water went by the mill, and every now and then a new home was set up under a roof. Almost everybody in the world gets married, you know what I mean? In our town, there aren't hardly any exceptions. Almost everybody in the world climbs into their graves married. The first act is called the daily life. This act is called love and marriage. There's another act coming after this. I reckon you can guess what that's about. So, it's 3 years later. It's 1904. It's July 7th, just after the high school commencement. That's the time most of our young people jump up and get married. As soon as they pass their last examinations in solid geometry and Cicero's orations, they suddenly see themselves fit to be married. It's early morning, only this time it's been raining. It's been pouring and thundering. Mrs. Gibbs' garden and Mrs. Webb here drenched. All those bean poles and pea vines drenched. All yesterday over there on Main Street, the rain looks like curtains being blown along. Maybe gonna get any minute. standing near the 545 for Boston. And there's Mrs. Gibbs and Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to cook breakfast just as though it were an ordinary day. I don't have to tell my women in the audience that both of these ladies they see before them, both of these ladies cook 3 meals a day. One of them for 20 years and the other for 40, and no summer vacation. Both of these ladies raise 2 children apiece, wash and clean the house, and never a nervous breakdown. It's like what one of those Middle West poets said, you've got to have life to love life, and you've got to love life to have life. It's what they call a vicious circle. Come on, Betsy. There's Zoe Newsom, delivering the milk, and there's Cy Brown Jr., delivering the paper like his brother before him.
Oh, morning, Howie.
Morning, Cy. Anything in the papers I ought to know?
Oh, nothing much. Except we're losing just about the best baseball player Grover's Corner's ever had.
Really reckon he is, George Gibbs.
He's hitting rough bases, too.
Yep, mighty fine ball player. Whoa, Bessie. I bet I can stop and talk if I have a mind to.
I don't see they give up something like that just to get married. Would you, Howie?
Can't tell, Si. Never had no talent that way. You're up early, Bill.
Well, seeing if there's anything I can do to prevent a flood. River's been rising all night.
Si Crow here is all worked up about George Gibbs retiring from baseball.
Yes, sir, that's the way it goes. Back in '84, we had a player. Name of Hank Todd. Even George Gibbs couldn't touch us. Went down the man and became a parson. A wonderful ball player. How does the weather look to you?
Don't take that. Think maybe it'll clear up. Morning, Howard. You think it'll rain again? Morning, Miss Gibbs. It rained so heavy I think maybe it'll clear up for good. Certainly hope it will. How many would you like today?
Gonna have a house full of relations, Howie. Looks to me I'll need a Rhea milk into a cream.
My wife tells me to tell you how we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Gibbs. No, they will.
Thanks a lot. Tell your wife when she gets here to the wedding.
Yep, she'll be there. She'll be there if she can. Good morning, Miss West.
Good morning, Mr. Newsom. Now, I know I told you the 4 meals, but I'm hoping you can spare me another.
Yes, ma'am. Me too, agree.
Will it start raining again today, Mr. Newsom?
Well, just talking to Miss Gibbs is how it might lighten up. Well, you know, my wife tells me to tell you how we both hope they'll be very happy, Miss Gibbs. No, they will.
Well, thank you and thank Mrs. Newsom. We're counting on seeing you at the wedding.
Yep, we'll be there. Couldn't miss that. Come on, Bessie.
Well, Mom, the day has come. You're losing up your chicks.
Frank Gibbs, don't you say another word. You're crying already. Now sit down and drink your coffee.
You can stop shaving, so. I mean, there ain't an awful lot to shave. Whistling and singing like he's glad to leave us. Every now and then he says, I do to the near. Only it don't sound too convincing to me.
I declare, Frank, I don't know how they'll get on. I've arranged his clothes and seen to it he's put more fakes on. Frank, they're too young. Emily won't think of such things. He'll catch his death of a cold within a week.
I was remembering our wedding morning, Julia.
Now don't you start that, Frank Gibbs.
I was the steadiest young fellow in the state of New Hampshire. Thought I made a mistake for sure. And when I saw you coming down that aisle, I thought you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. Only the trouble was, I'd never seen you before. There I was, in a congregational church, marrying a total stranger.
And how do you think I felt? Frank, weddings are perfectly awful things. Farces, that's what they are. Made you something.
Why, Junior Hurtstein, French toast!
They hard to make, and I had to do something.
How'd you sleep last night, Julia?
Well, I heard a lot of the hours struck off.
Yes, I get shocked every time I think of George. Turn out to be a family man. That great gangling thing. I tell you, Julia, there's nothing in the world as terrifying as a son. The relation of father and son is the darndest, awkwardest.
Well, mother and daughter ain't no picnic either, let me tell you.
Well, there are troubles, I suppose, but there's nothing we can do about it. Everybody has a right to their own troubles.
Yes. People are meant to go through life two by two. It ain't natural to be lonesome.
Julia, do you know one of the things I was scared of when I first married you?
Go along with you.
I was afraid we wouldn't have material for conversation more than last us a few weeks. I was afraid we'd run out and eat our meals in silence, that's a fact. But you and I have been conversing for 20 years now without any noticeable bad spells.
Well, good weather, bad weather. They ain't very choice, but I always find something to say. Did you hear Rebecca stirring around upstairs?
Only the other year Rebecca isn't up there, managing everybody's business. She's hiding in her room. I got the impression she's crying.
Lord sakes, this has got to stop. Rebecca! Rebecca, come downstairs and get your breakfast.
Morning, everybody. 5 hours left to live.
George Gibbs, where are you going?
Just stepping across the grass to see my girl.
Put your overshoes on. It's raining torrents. You don't go out without you're prepared for it.
Ma, it's just a step.
George, you'll catch your death of a cold and cough all through the service.
George, do as your mother tells you.
From tomorrow on, you can kill yourself in all weathers. But while you live in my house, you'll live wisely, thank you. Maybe Mrs. Webbs, you used to call us this early in the morning. Now sit down and drink your coffee.
I'll be back in a minute.
Goodness, you sprang me. Now, George, you know you can step in and out of the wet, but I cannot invite you in.
Well, why not?
You know the rules as good as I do. A groom can't see his bride on a wedding day, not until he sees her at church.
Well, that's just superstition. Oh, come on, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Webb, you don't believe in that superstition, do you?
Oh, well, there's a lot of common sense in some superstitions, George.
Millions of father, George, and I want you to be the first to fly in the face of custom.
How is it?
She hasn't waked up yet. Have her to sound out of her.
Wait, Emily's asleep?
No wonder. We're up to all hours sewing and packing. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do, George. I'll send you down here home with Mr. Webb, and you can drink this cup of coffee. And I'll go upstairs and see if Emily doesn't want to come down and surprise me. There's some bacon there too, but don't be long about it.
George, how are you?
Fine. I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what sense could there be in superstition like that?
Well, you see, on a wedding morning, a girl's head is apt to be full of, clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes, I'd thought of that.
Girls have to be mighty nervous on a wedding day.
I wish a fella could get married without having to do all the arching up and down.
Every man who's ever lived has felt that way about it, George. But it hasn't been any use. It's the women folk who built up women, my boy. For a while now, they've had it all their own. A man was mighty small when all those good women stand shoulder to shoulder, making sure the knots tie in a mighty public way.
But you do believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, don't misunderstand me, George. Marriage is a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing. And don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
You see, I've been off to college and I've taken a little time to get settled. But, Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than Emily is. Oh, age hasn't got much to do with it, my boy. Not compared with, other things.
What were you gonna say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know. Was I gonna say something? George, I was thinking the other night of some advice my father gave me when I got married. Charles, he said, Charles, best thing to do is to give an order, even if it don't make sense, he said. And, if anything about her irritates you, her conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house, he said. And, oh yes, he said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Mr. Webb, I don't think I could do
So I took the opposite of his advice, and I've been happy ever since. So let it be a lesson to you, George. Never take advice on personal matters. Hey, George, are you gonna raise chickens on your farm?
Am I gonna what?
Are you gonna raise chickens on your farm?
Uncle Lou's never been much interested, but
A book came into my office the other day on the Philo system of raising chickens. I want you to read it. I was thinking of starting in a small way in the backyard.
Charles, you're not talking about that old incubator again. Thought you might be talking about something worthwhile.
Well, Myrtle, if you want to talk to the boy about some good advice, how about I go upstairs and leave you alone with him?
George, Emma's gotta come down and eat her breakfast. She says you were loved, but she doesn't want to lay eyes on you. Goodbye.
goodbye.
Hey, Myrtle, I guess you don't know that oldest superstition.
What do you mean, Charles?
Since the caveman days, no bridegroom should see his father-in-law on the day of the wedding. Or near it. Now remember that.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Webb. You see, we want to know how all of this began. This wedding, this plan to spend a lifetime together. I'm awfully interested in how big things like that begin. You know how it is. You're 21 or 22, you make some decisions, and then whoosh, you're 70. You've been a lawyer for 50 years, and that white-haired lady at your side has eaten over 50,000 meals with you. How do such things begin? George and Emily are now going to show you the conversation they had when they first knew that, well, as the saying goes, that they were meant for one another. But before they do it, I want you to try and remember what it must have been like to have been very young. And particularly the days when you were first in love. when you were like a person sleepwalking. You didn't quite see the street you were on, and didn't quite hear everything that was said to you. You're just a little bit crazy. Will you remember that, please? Now, they'll be coming out of high school at 3 o'clock. George has just been elected president, and as of June, that means he'll be president of the senior class all next year. And Emily's just been elected secretary and treasurer. I don't have to tell you how important that is. There they are, coming down Main Street now.
Oh, I can't, Louise. I've got to go home. Goodbye. Oh, Ernestine, can't you come over later tonight to do Latin? If not, sister, are the worst things. Tell your mother you have to. Goodbye. Goodbye, Helen. Goodbye, Fred.
Emily, can I carry your books home for you?
Why, thank you. It isn't far.
Oh, excuse me, no, Emily. Say, Bob, I'm gonna wait to practice. Go ahead and start without me, okay? And give her some Long Island, you hear me?
Goodbye, Lizzie.
Goodbye, Lizzie. I'm awfully glad you were elected too, Emily.
Thank you.
Emily, why are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you.
You've been treating me so funny lately.
Well, since you asked me, I might as well say it right out. George. Oh, goodbye, Miss Cochran.
Goodbye, Miss Cochran. What is it?
I don't like the whole change that's come over you in the last year. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I just gotta tell the truth and shame the devil.
Wait. A change? What do you mean?
Well, up to a year ago, I used to like you a lot. And I used to watch you while you did everything, because we've been friends so long. And then you started spending all your time at baseball. You never stopped to speak to anybody anymore. Not even to your own family, you didn't. And George, it's a fact. You've gotten awful, conceited, and stuck up. And all the girls say so. They may not say so to your face, but that's what they say about you behind your back. And it hurts me to hear them say it. But I gotta agree with them a little. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I can't be sorry I said it.
I'm glad you said it, Emily. Gosh, I never thought such a change was happening to me. It's hard for a fellow not to have some quality to his character.
I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be.
Oh, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily.
Well, my father is. And as far as I can see, your father is. So there's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too.
Well, I think it's the other way around, that men aren't naturally good, but girls are.
Well, I'll have you know right now that I'm not perfect. It's not as easy for a girl to be as perfect as a man because, well, we girls are more nervous and... No, I'm sorry I said all that about you. I don't know what made me say it.
Emily,
Now I can see it's not the truth at all, and I suddenly feel it's not important anyways.
Emily, would you like to get an ice cream soda with me, or something, before you go?
Well, thank you. I would.
Oh, hey, Stu, how are you? Oh, good afternoon, Miss Slocum.
Hello, George. Hello, Emily. What do you have? Why, Emily, what have you been crying about?
She just had an awful scare, Mr. Morgan. She almost got run over by that hardware store wagon. Everyone says that Tom Hawkins drives like a crazy man.
Well, You take a drink of water, Emily, you look all shook up. I tell ya, you've got to look both ways before you cross Main Street these days. Gets worse every year. What do you have?
I'll have a strawberry phosphate. Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
No, Emily. Have an ice cream soda. 2 strawberry ice cream sodas, Mr. Morgan.
2 strawberry ice cream sodas. Yes, sir, yes, sir. There are 125 horses this minute I'm talking to you in Grover's Corners. State inspector was in here yesterday, and now they're bringing in all those automobiles. Why, the best thing to do is to just stay home. Why, I can remember when a dog could go to sleep all day in the middle of Main Street, and nothing could come along to disturb it. But, there you are. Enjoy it. Ah, Miss Ellis, what can I do for you?
They're so expensive.
No, Emily, don't think of that. We're celebrating our election, remember? You know what else I'm celebrating?
No?
I'm celebrating because I've got a friend who will tell me all the things that ought to be told to me.
Oh, George, please don't think of that. I don't know why I said it. It's not true. You're
No,
so...
Emily. You stick to it. I'm glad you told me. But you'll see, I'm going to change so fast, you better make a change. And, Emily, I want to ask you a favor.
What?
Emily, if I go to State Agriculture College next year, will, you write me a letter every once in a while?
I certainly will. I certainly will, George. It certainly seems like being away 3 years, you get out of touch with things. Maybe letters from Grover's Corners wouldn't be so interesting after a while. Grover's Corners isn't a very important place if you think of all New Hampshire. But I think it's a very nice town.
The day wouldn't come where I wouldn't want to know everything that's happening. I know that's true.
Well, I'll try to make our letters interesting.
You know, Emily, whenever I meet a farmer, I ask him if he thinks it's important. If he thinks that it's important to go to agriculture school to be a good farmer.
Like George.
Yeah, and some of them say that it's even a waste of time. You can get all that stuff anyway out of all the old pamphlets the government sends you. I know the Luke's getting old. He's about ready for me to start taking over tomorrow if I could.
Nice.
Yeah, and like you said, being gone all the time in different places, meeting people, like something like that could happen to me. I don't want to go away. New people aren't any better than the old. I bet they almost never are. Well, Emily, you're the closest friend I've got. I don't need to meet the other people in the other towns.
Why, George, maybe it's very important for you to go and learn all about that cattle judging and soils and those things. Of course, I don't know.
Emily, I'm making up my mind right now. I won't go. I'll tell Pa about it tonight.
Why, George, I don't see why you have to decide right now. It's a whole year away.
Emily, I'm glad you spoke to me about that fault in my character. I mean, what you said was right, but there was one thing wrong with it. And that was when you said that for a year I wasn't noticing people, and you, for instance. But why you say you were noticing everything that I was even seeing about you all the time. I mean, I always thought about you as one of the chief people that I thought about. I'd always make sure where you were sitting on the bleachers, who you were with, and for the past 3 days now, I've been trying to walk home with you, but something's always gotten in the way. I mean, yesterday I was standing against the wall waiting for you, but you looked home with Miss Cochran.
George, life's awfully funny. I mean, how did I know that? Why, I thought...
Listen, Emily, going to tell you why I'm not going to animals. I think that when you found a person who you're really fond of, and I mean, fond of you too, and likes you enough to be interested in character, but I think that's just as colorful, if not more so. That's what I think, Emily.
I think it's awfully important too.
Emily?
Yes, George?
Emily, if I do improve and I make a big change, would you be my, I mean, could you be?
I am now. I always have been.
So I guess this is an awfully important talk we've been having.
Yes, yes.
Wait just a minute, I'll walk around. Miss Morgan, I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna have to go home and get you the money to pay for this. It'll only take me a minute.
What's that? Why, George Gibbs, do you mean to tell me
Yes,
that?
but I have reasons, Miss Morgan. Look, here's my gold watch and keep until I come back with your money.
No need. Keep your watch. I'll trust you.
Be back in 5 minutes.
I'll trust you 10 years, George, and not a day over. Get all over your shock, Emily?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Morgan. It was nothing.
I'm ready.
Let's get on with the wedding. There are a lot of thoughts to be had about a wedding. There are a lot of things to be said about a wedding. We can't put them all into one wedding, naturally, and especially not a wedding at Grover's Quarters, where they're awfully short. In this wedding, I play the minister. That gives me the right to say a few more things about it. For a while now, the play gets pretty serious. You know, some churches say that marriage is a sacrament. Now, I don't quite know what that means, but I can guess. It's like what Mrs. Gibbs said a few minutes ago. People were made to live 2 by 2. This is a good wedding, but even at a good wedding, the people are so put together that there's a lot of confusion way down deep in people's minds, and we thought that ought to be in our play too. The real hero of this scene isn't even on the stage at all, and I think you can all guess who that is. It's like what one of those European fellas said. Every child born into this world is nature's attempt at making a perfect human being. Well, we've seen nature pushing and contriving for some time now, and we know that nature is interested in quantity. But I think that she's interested in quality as well. That's why I'm in the ministry. And don't forget about all the other witnesses of this wedding. The ancestors, millions of them. Most of them also set out to live 2 by 2 as well. Millions of them. Well, that's all my sermon. It wasn't very long anyway.
I don't know why I'm crying. I suppose there's nothing to cry about. It came with me at breakfast this morning. Emily was eating her breakfast, same way she has for 17 years. Now she's off to eat breakfast in somebody else's house. I suppose that's it. And Emily, she suddenly said, I can't eat another mouthful. She put her head down on the table and she cried. And I've got to say it. There's something so cruel about the way we put our daughters into marriage this way. I do hope her girlfriends have told her a thing or two. It's cruel, I know, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I went into it blind as a bat myself. The whole world's wrong. That's the matter. Here they come.
Big boy.
Woo-hoo-hoo! All right, that's enough of that. There was an awful lot of that kind of thing at weddings in the old days. Rome and such. We're more civilized now, so they say.
Ma, I don't want to get married, but why is everybody pushing me so?
Why, George, you want it.
No, Ma, listen to me.
George, you're a man now.
No, Ma, the last time
George, if anyone should hear you, now stop. Why, I'm ashamed of you. George, you gave me such a turn.
Cheer up, Mom. Get married.
Let me catch my breath.
You say Thursday nights, Mom. Me and Emily are going to come over every Thursday night dinner. You hear me? Mom, why are you crying? Come on. Be ready.
I've never felt so alone in my whole life. And George over there, I think so. I hate him. I wish I were dead. Papa! Papa!
Emily, no, don't be upset.
But Papa, I don't want to get married.
Shh, everything's all right.
Why can't I stay for a while, just as I am? Let's go away.
No, just stop and think a minute.
But Papa, don't you remember you used to say, all the time you used to say, that I was your girl? There must be lots of places we can go. I could work for you, I could keep house, and...
Shh! You mustn't think such things. You're just nervous, Emily. George, will you come here a minute? Look, you're marrying the best young fellow in the world. George is a fine young fellow.
But Papa!
I'm giving away my daughter, George. You think you can take care of her?
Mr. Webb, I want to try. Emily, I'm going to do my best. I love you, Emily. I need you.
Well, if you love me, help me. All I want is for someone to love me.
I will, Emily. Emily, I'll try.
And I mean forever. Do you hear? Forever and ever.
Come on now. They're waiting for us. Now you'll know we'll be alright. Go quick.
Do you, George, take this woman to your wedded wife, have and to hold
Such a perfectly beautiful wedding. Loveliest wedding I ever saw. Oh, I just love a good wedding, don't you? And doesn't she make for just a beautiful bride?
And do you, Emily, take this man, George, to be your wedded husband?
No bride I've ever been to such a lovely wedding before. But I always cry. I don't know why that is exactly, but I always cry. I just love seeing young people happy, you know? I just think it's lovely.
I do.
I've married over 200 couples in my day. Do I believe in it? I don't know. The cottage, the go-kart, the Sunday afternoon drives in the Ford, the first rheumatism, the grandchildren, the second rheumatism, the deathbed, the reading of the will. Once in 1,000 times it's interesting. Well, let's have Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
I'm sure they'll be happy. It's like I always say, happiness, that's the great thing. It's important to be happy. Bye.
That's the end of the second act, friends. 10 minutes intermission. Years have gone by, friends. Summer, 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers are coming into town in Fords. Everybody locks their house doors now at night. There ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about them. You'd be surprised, though, on the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop. A windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon and you can see range on range of hills. Awful blue they are. Up there by Lake Seneca and Lake Winnipesaukee. And way up, if you've got a glass, you can see the White Mountains of Mount Washington, where North Conway and Conway is. Our favorite mountains here too, Mount Monadnock, and all the towns that surround it. Jaffrey and East Jaffrey and Peterborough and Dublin. And there, quite a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Beautiful spot up here, Mount Laurel and Lilac. I often wonder why people like to be buried in places like Woodlawn and Brooklyn, when you could pass the same amount of time up here in New Hampshire. There are the Old Stones, 1670, 1680. Strong-minded people will come a long way to be independent. Summer people walk around and laugh at all the funny names on the tombstones. It don't do any harm. Genealogists come up here from Boston, get paid by city people for looking up their ancestors. They want to make sure their daughters of the American Revolution of the Mayflower. Well, that don't do any harm either. Often when you come near the human race, there's layers and layers of nonsense. There are some Civil War veterans, iron flags on their graves. New Hampshire boys had a notion that the Union ought to be kept together, though they haven't even seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was the name, folks. The United States of America. The United States of America. And they went and died about it. And this here is the new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs, and let me speak. Mr. Stimson, the organist at the Congregational Church, and Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much, you remember? Oh, and a lot of others. Editor Webb's boy, Wallace, whose appendix burst on a Boy Scout trip to Crawford Notch. It's an awful lot of sorrow has sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief have brought their relatives up to this hill. But you know how it is. And time, sunny days, rainy days, snow. We're all glad they're in a beautiful place, and we're coming up here ourselves when our pic's over. Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal. And it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't the earth, and it ain't even the stars. We all know way down deep that something is eternal. And that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years, and yet you'd be surprised at how often people are losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal about every human being. Now, you know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in us living people for very long. Gradually they lose hold of the earth. And the ambitions they had, and the pleasures they had, the things they suffered, and the people they loved, they get weaned away from them. That's the way I put it, weaned away. They're waiting. They're waiting for something they feel is coming. Something big and important. Aren't they waiting for the eternal part of them to come out clear? Now, some of the things they say maybe will hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser, all those terribly important things kind of grow pale around you. And what's left when memory's gone and your identity is suspended? Well, there are some living people. There's Joe Stoddard, our undertaker's wife, supervising and who made grave. And there's a Grover's corners boy, who left town to go out west.
Good afternoon, Joe Stoddard.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Let me see now. Do I know you?
I'm Sam Penn.
Gracious sakes alive! Of all people, I should have known you after the funeral. You've been away a long time, Sam.
Yes, I've been away over 12 years now. I've been in business out in Buffalo, but I was east when I heard the news of my cousin's death. So I figured I could come by things a little, come and see the old home. You look well.
Yes, can't complain. Very sorry, say Sam.
Yes.
Yes, I always hate to surprise with a young person who's taken. He'll be here in a few minutes now. Had to come here early today. My son is supervising at the house.
Old Farmer McCarty. I used to do chores for him after school. He had the lumbago.
Yes, we brought Farmer McCarty here a number of years ago now.
Why, this is my Aunt Julia. I'd forgotten that she... course.
Yes, Doc Gibbs lost his wife 3 years ago now. About this time, the day we were pretty back over into.
That's my sister Carrie's boy, Sam. Sam Craig.
I'm always uncomfortable whenever one of them is around.
Son.
Do they write their own verses much, Joe?
No, not usual. It's mostly the Marie sing a verse.
Doesn't sound like Aunt Julia. There aren't many of those Hersey sisters left now, are there? I wanted to see my fathers and mothers.
Over there with Craig. I'll do that.
He was an organist at the church, wasn't he? He used to drink a lot, he used to say.
Nobody was supposed to know about it. She saw us making trouble. Took his own life now.
Oh, did he?
I was stuck in the attic. They tried to hush it up, but of course word got around. He wrote us an epitaph. You can see it there. It's not a verse, exactly.
Why, it's just some notes and music. What is it?
Oh, I wouldn't possibly know. It was written up in the Boston paper at that time.
Joe, what did she die of?
Who?
My cousin?
Oh, didn't know. She had some trouble bringing a baby into the world. It was her second, though. It was a little boy about 4 years old.
Are the graves going to be over there?
Yes, very much more room up here amongst the kids, so they're opening up a whole new gift section now for me. Oh, you'll excuse me now. I hear they're coming.
Who is it, Julia?
My daughter-in-law, Emily Webb.
Well, I declare, the road up here must have been awful muddy. What did she die of, Julia?
In childhood.
Childbirth. I'd forgotten all about that. My, what's it like? Awful. And wonderful.
Wonderful, was it?
Son. Now remember?
I remember Emily's wedding. Perfectly lovely wedding. And I remember Emily giving her class speech at graduation exercises. Emily was one of the brightest girls who ever graduated high school. Principal Wilkins said so time after time. I called on them at their new farm just before I died. Perfectly lovely farm.
We were both enrolled in the job. Yep. Right, smart farm. I've always liked that too. I was hoping they'd see it then.
Hello. Hello, Emily. Hello, Mother Gibbs. Hello. It's raining.
Yes. They'll be home soon. Just rest yourself.
It seems thousands and thousands of years. Papa remembered that was my favorite hymn. being new here. I wish I'd been here a long time. How do you do, Mr. Simpson?
How do you do, Emily?
Mother Gibbs. George and I think that farm is just the best place you ever saw. We thought of you all the time. We wanted to show you the new barn and a great long cement drinking fountain for the stock. We bought that out of the money you left us.
I did.
Don't you remember, Mother Gibbs? The legacy you left us? Why, it was over $350.
Yes. Yes, Emily.
Well, there's a patent device on the drinking fountain so that it never overflows, Mother Gibbs. And it never sinks below a certain mark they have there. It's fine. It won't be the same to George without me. But it's a lovely farm. Live people don't understand, do they?
No, not very much.
They're all sort of shut up little boxes, aren't they? I feel like I knew them last 1,000 years ago. My boy's spending the day at Miss Carter's. Oh, Mr. Carter, my boy's spending the day at your house.
Is he?
Yes, he loves it there. Mother Gibbs, we have a Ford too. Never gives any trouble. I don't drive though. Mother Gibbs, when does this feeling go away? Of being one of them? How long does it?
Dear, just wait. Be patient.
I know. Look, they're finished. They're going. Look, Father Gibbs is bringing some of my flowers to you. He looks just like George, doesn't he? Oh, Mother Gibbs, I never realized before how troubled and how in the dark light persons are. Oh, look at him. I loved him so. From morning till night, that's all they are, troubled.
Yes, very possible, the Northeast winds always do the same things, don't they? Look at his ring. Everyday love.
Mother Gibbs. One can go back. One can go back again into living. I feel it. I know it. Why? For a moment I was thinking about the farm. And for a minute I was there. And my baby was on my lap as plain as day.
Yes, dear. Of course you can.
I can go back and live all those days over again. Why not?
All I can say is, Emily, don't.
That's true, isn't it? I can go and live back there again.
Yes. Many have tried, but they soon come back here.
Don't do it, Emily.
Emily, don't. It isn't what you think it'd be.
But I wouldn't choose a sad day. I choose the happy one. I choose the day I first knew that I loved George. Why should that be painful?
You not only live it, but you watch yourself living it.
Yes.
And as you watch it, you see the thing that they, down there, never know. You see the future. You know what's going to happen afterwards.
Was that painful? Why?
That's not the only reason why you shouldn't do it, Emily. When you're here longer, you'll understand that our job here is to forget all that and look to what's ahead so we can be ready for what's ahead. When you're here longer, you'll understand.
But Mother Gibbs, how could I ever forget that life? It's all I know. It's all I had.
Oh, Emily, it isn't wise. Really, it isn't.
But it's a thing I must know for myself. I choose a happy day anyway.
No. At least choose an unimportant day. Choose the least important day of your life. It will be important enough.
Well, then it can't be since I was married. Or since the baby was born. I can choose a birthday at least, can't I? I choose my 12th birthday.
All right? February 11th, 1899. A Tuesday. Do you want any special time of day?
Oh, I want the whole day.
You remember it had been snowing for several days, but it had stopped the night before. They had just begun clearing the roads. The sun's coming up.
Why, there's Main Street. And there's Mr. Morgan's drugstore before he changed it. And there's the livery stable.
Yes. This is 1899. This is 14 years ago.
This is the town I knew as a little girl. And look, there's the old white fence that used to go around our house. Oh, I'd forgotten that. I loved it so. Are they inside?
Yes. Your mother will be coming downstairs in a minute to get breakfast.
She?
Yes. And you remember your father had been away for several days. He had just gotten back on the early morning train.
No.
Yes. He had gone out to New York to give a speech. At Westminster, New York, at Clinton.
Why, there's Howie Newsom. And there's our policeman. But he's dead. He died.
Whoa, Bessie, Bessie. Morning, Bill.
Morning, Howie.
You're up early.
Been rescuing a party. Darn him just froze to death down by the Polish town guard. Got drunk, lay out in the snowdrift. Thought he was dead when I shook him.
Why, there's Joe Crowell. Morning, Mr. Warren. Morning, Helen.
Wally, Emily, time to get up. You'll be late for school.
Oh, Mama, I'm here. Oh, how young Mama looks. I didn't know Mama was ever that young.
You may dress by the kitchen fire if you'd like, but hurry. Good morning, Mr. Newsom. It's cold. 10 below by my barn. Think of it. Keep yourself wrapped up.
Morning, Mr. Webb. You're up early.
Yes, just came back from my old college up in New York State. Been on quite a day?
Well, I was caught up this morning to rescue a Polish fella. Darn near froze to death he was.
We've got to get it in the paper.
Oh, want much.
Papa.
Good morning, Mother.
How did it go, Charles?
Oh, fine, I guess. I told him a thing or two. Been any trouble here?
Can't think of anything that's happened special. It's been so cold. Probably since 10 below over at his barn.
Well, it's colder up at Hamilton College. Students' ears are falling off. It ain't Christian. Any mistakes in the newspaper?
Now that I noticed, coffee's ready when you want it. Oh, and don't forget, it's Emily's birthday today. Did you remember to get her something?
I've got something right here. Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
Don't wake her now, Charles. She's slow enough as it is. You can see her at breakfast. Children, time to get up. 7 o'clock. Now I don't want to ask you again.
Oh, I can't bear it. They're both so young and beautiful. Why do they ever have to get old? Mama, I'm here. I'm grown up. I love you all. Everything. I can't look at everything hard enough. Good morning, Mama.
Well, now, dear, very happy birthday to my girl and many happy returns. There's a surprise waiting for you on the kitchen table.
Oh, Mommy, you shouldn't have.
But birthday or no birthday, I want you to eat your breakfast good and slow. I want you to grow up and be a strong girl. That in the blue is something from your Aunt Carrie, and I guess you can reckon from the postcard album. I found out this morning when I brought in the milk. George Gibbs must have come over in the cold pretty early. Right, nice of him.
Oh, George. I'd forgotten that.
Do that bacon good and slow, and it'll keep you warm on a cold day.
Oh, Mama. Just look at me 1 minute, though you really saw me. Mama, 14 years have gone by. I'm dead. You're a grandmother, Mama. I married George Gibbs, Mama. Wally's dead too, Mama. His appendix burst on a camping trip to North Conway. We talked just terrible about it, don't you remember? But for a moment, we're together. For a moment, we're happy. Let's look at one another.
That and the yellow is something I found among your grandmother's things. You're old enough to have it now, and I thought you'd like it.
And this is from you. Why, Mama, it's just lovely. It's just what I wanted. It's beautiful.
Hope you'd like it. Hunt it all over. Your Aunt Carrie took Cloud and Conquerors, and so I sent it all the way to Boston. Wally has something for you, too. He made an animal training, and he's very proud of it, so be sure you make a big fuss. Your father has something for you, too. Don't know what it is myself. Shh, here he comes.
Where's my girl? Where's my birthday girl?
I can't go on! It goes so fast. I don't have time to look at one another. I never realized. So while that was going on, we never noticed. Take me back. Up the hill to my grave. But first, Kate. One more look. Goodbye. Goodbye to clocks ticking. And Mama's sunflowers. And food. And coffee. And fresh ironed dresses. And hot baths. And sleeping. And waking up. Oh, Earth, you're too beautiful for anyone to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life as they live it? Every minute?
No. The saints and poets, maybe. They do some.
I'm ready to go back.
Were you happy?
No. I should have listened to you. That's all human beings are, just blind people.
It's clearing up. The stars are coming up.
Oh, Mr. Simpson, I should have listened to them.
Yes. Now you know. Now you know. That's what it was to be alive. To move about in a cloud of ignorance. To go up and down, trampling on the feelings of those about you. To spend and waste time as though you had 1,000,000 years. To always be jumping from one self-centered passion to another. Now you know. That's what it was to be alive. Ignorance. Blindness.
Simon Stinson. That ain't the whole truth. No. Forgot his name.
My boy Joel was a sailor. He'd sat on the porch evenings and tell them all by name. Yes, sir. Wonderful. Yes. That's good.
Here's one of them coming.
That's strange. The entire one of them be here. It is safe.
Mother Gibbs, it's George.
Dear, just rest yourself.
It's George.
And my boy Joel, who knew the stars, he'd say it took millions of years for that spark of light to get to the earth. Doesn't seem like the body could believe that. That's what he'd say. Millions of years.
He ought to be home.
Mother Gibbs.
Yes, Emily?
They don't understand, do they?
No, dear. They don't understand.
Almost everybody's asleep in Grover's Corners. Shorty Hawkins down at the depot has just watched the Albany train go by. And over at the livery stable, somebody's setting up and talking. It's clearing up. There are the stars, doing their old crisscross journey in the sky. Scholars haven't seemed to settle the matter yet, but they seem to think that there are no living beings up there. chalk or fire. But this one's straining away all the time to make something of itself. The strain's so bad that every 16 hours we all lie down and get a rest. 11 o'clock in Grover's quarters. You should all be getting a good rest too. Good night.